Is this released WWE superstar AEW bound? But first, has Darby Allin just confirmed a major AEW debut? Tomorrow night at AEW Wrestle Dream, two-time former TNT champion Darby Allin will compete to win the belt for the third time. This when he takes on Christian Cage, who has held the title since June or late September, depending on who you ask. With no AEW World Championship match on the show, fans have been left wondering which bout will go on last as the main event in Seattle, with many feeling the singles match between Zack Sabre Jr. and Washington native Bryan Danielson is the obvious choice. With that said, Darby would speak as part of the Countdown to Wrestle Dream show last night, where he let slip that the TNT title match is set to headline, and he would say, "You haven't seen shit until you wrestle Darby in Seattle. At Wrestle Dream in the main event, you are fighting someone that you've never seen before." Allin was of course born in Seattle, making this a huge moment for the youngster, although this isn't the only reason to be excited over the decision. Leading into Wrestle Dream, there's been a ton of speculation regarding the future of WWE Hall of Famer Edge, who according to PW Insider, is able to appear for another wrestling promotion starting October 1st, the day of the latest All Elite Wrestling pay-per-view. The decision to put the Christian Cage match on last, who is of course Edge's former tag team partner, has certainly raised suspicions that a certain rated R superstar could show up at the close of the night, whether it be in support of or in opposition of his longtime best friend. This isn't the only clue we've had, however, as the pre-sale code for the tickets for Wrestle Dream a few weeks back was Edge R95, likely meaning Edge, rated R, and 95, the year of his United States Wrestling debut, an early sign that AEW had something up their sleeve. Another clue is also the fact that as of last night's episode, Edge no longer features in the opening for Friday Night SmackDown, only adding to speculation that he's leaving WWE at the very least. And as a quick side note, the trademark for the term rated R superstar is actually no longer held by WWE, meaning the nickname can in fact be used in All Elite Wrestling. When taking a look at the USPTO records regarding the mark, you can see the first filing for rated R superstar was filed in 2012 before it was abandoned in 2014. This before WWE reapplied in April 2020. This before the application was then abandoned just over 1 month later for unknown reasons. With that said, the term Edge is still owned by the Stamford-based promotion, meaning we may well be seeing the rated R superstar Adam Copeland become All Elite tomorrow night. But do you think we'll see Edge make his All Elite Wrestling debut this Sunday night at Wrestle Dream? Let me know in the comments down below. And next, a top WWE official has given their thoughts on the recent roster cuts. In September, WWE would undergo its latest round of talent cuts, leading to the departures of several individuals from both the main and NXT rosters. Among those released was Mustafa Ali, who was a regular presence on WWE television and actively involved in the NXT brand at the time of his departure. Ali was even slated to compete against Dominic Mysterio for the North American Championship at the upcoming NXT No Mercy event tonight. During the official media call for the show, head of NXT Creative Shawn Michaels addressed Ali's release, revealing when he first found out the news, and he would say,
"I found out not long after he did. I'm sorry, or right before he did. I'd be lying to you if it didn't take us by surprise. But that's one thing that, again, I'm learning here is that main roster and NXT are totally separate rosters. I think the world of Mustafa. Had a great working relationship with him in the time that he was here. I will miss him. That's what we do here at NXT. We adjust. We are, again, as I've mentioned to you guys before, the fire drill is something that is a regular thing here in the WWE and certainly here at NXT. So I feel like we've made a great pivot. We adjusted. And again, he's an unbelievably creative and talented young man. I have no doubt that his future looks incredibly bright and he'll be successful. Gonna miss him. Enjoyed working with him for the time that I did have him here.
Another NXT regular from the main roster that was cut is Dana Brooke, somebody Michaels was also surprised to see let go, when he would add,
Dana Brooke, obviously, is something that caught us by surprise a little bit because we had a nice story going on there. And I'll say this, and I hope gosh, it doesn't sound insensitive. This is not the first time, that we've gone through this. And it is something that I'll say this, maybe I've grown a little bit, that these things don't throw me into chaos, or I don't get too nervous, or I don't get too upset. We try not to allow the highs to take us too high and the lows to take us down too low.
Next up, could CM Punk be NXT bound? Elsewhere on the NXT media call, Shawn Michaels would be asked about top free agent CM Punk and the potential of seeing him return to the black and gold brand in the future, this following his contract termination from All Elite Wrestling with cause. HBK would admit that having somebody of Punk's stature on the show would help business, this whilst discussing why he admires the Second City Saint, and he would state,
well, of course we'd welcome him here in NXT. My guess is he probably would want to go to the main roster, would be my guess. But I always enjoy working with Phil. Again, didn't get to do it much. I'll say this, I understood, again, whether you want to say there were similarities in us. Again, we were at TV and he once pulled out of his wallet, right there on the spot, a little autograph that I guess I had apparently signed for him in a hotel that he still had. I've always liked him. And I understand he's a different kind of cat. It can sometimes be challenging, to get along with people. But again, that's probably why I like him, because I suffer from the same thing. So obviously that's for people to decide higher up on the food chain than I am. He's a guy that does numbers and makes money. I think that would be a risk-reward ratio that I'm sure from a company standpoint they'd have to consider. But when it comes to would we take him in NXT and have him on our television? Are you kidding me? Of course I would.
Let's be honest, if WWE were to re-sign CM Punk, you can imagine that NXT would be the last of the free brands that he would land on, although I suppose a cameo wouldn't be out of the question, considering this was something we saw Punk do during his time as WWE Champion. Let's also not forget that he was a coach in the first season of the NXT game show as the pro of Darren Young. Okay, yeah, let's not remember that. Next up, John Cena's Fastlane partner has officially been confirmed. Following a series of events over the past 2 weeks, both on and off screen, John Cena would find himself booked in a handicap match at next weekend's WWE Fastlane pay-per-view, with him set to take on both Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso of the Bloodline. With that said, last night, Big Match John would find himself a partner as the scrapped plans from last week's SmackDown eventually came to fruition. Last night, LA Knight made his return, this after being sent home from last week's tapings following a COVID diagnosis, which derailed plans for him to be announced as Cena's Fastlane partner. The return would see him come to the aid of the 16-time world champion, who was on the end of a beatdown at the hands of his upcoming opponents. After Uso declared Cena wouldn't make it to Fastlane, an attack would be launched by the Bloodline, with John set up on the announce desk as Sikoa prepared for a splash from the top rope. LA Knight's music would then hit, with him intervening, ultimately saving his now partner. Following a brief brawl, Knight would reach for the contract that was left inside the ring before putting pen to paper, officially confirming that he and John Cena will join forces against Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso at Fastlane next weekend. Elsewhere on SmackDown, Charlotte Flair would declare her intention to challenge Io Sky for the WWE Women's Championship, this right before her match against Sky's Damage Control stablemate, Bayley. Following Flair's eventual win, accusations then arose that Flair was attempting to jump the line for a title opportunity, this according to the role model. The situation intensified as Bayley, Sky, and Dakota Kai gathered around the ring before Asuka's entrance music played, who then proposed something in Japanese, which appeared to be a tag team match. However, Bayley, with her proficiency in the Japanese language, interpreted it as a triple threat match for Fastlane involving Asuka, Flair, and Sky, despite the champion disputing the translation. The match was then confirmed for the upcoming event, with this continuing a tease of a rift in Damage Control. Next up is this released WWE superstar, AEW Bound. As mentioned earlier, WWE are coming off the back of several releases, with the likes of Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ali, Matt Riddle, and Emma all hitting the free agency market. Another name that was let go was longtime veteran Shelton Benjamin, somebody that people within AEW have been pushing to sign for quite some time. According to Fightful Select, there has been long-standing interest in making the gold standard All Elite. This after false contract rumors emerged, and the report notes, there were actually talent pushing for him to join the company several months ago, when there were incorrect rumors within the industry that his contract was set to expire. As it turned out, there was plenty of time left on his deal, and he was eventually released. Additionally, AEW has been actively seeking to expand its team of producers with the aim of reaching a point where each producer can handle one match per show. It was noted, however, that this part of the report is separate from the news that there's interest in Shelton, meaning he wouldn't necessarily be filling one of the producer spots were he to sign. And before you go, make sure you check out what's next for the WWE releases of September 2023.